Okay, thank you moderator. I will explain the next material is about some ethical consideration and be aware of consequence. Some ethical consideration. Ethical consideration is a collection of principles and values that should be followed while doing human affairs. The ethical consideration makes sure that no one acts in such a way that is harmful to society or an individual. It refrains people and organizations from indulging in vicious conduct. It is imperative that ethical issues are considered during the formulation of inflation plan. Ethical consideration during inflation include: the first is informed consent, the second is voluntary participation, the third is do no harm, the fourth is confidentiality, the fifth is anonymity, and the last is only assist relevant components. Informed consent. Informed consent means that the person participating in the inflation is fully informed about the inflation being conducted. Participants need to be made aware of the purpose of the project, who or what group is finding it, how the finding will be used, if there are any potential adverse effects of their participation, and who will have access to the findings. The next, voluntary participation. Voluntary participation means that people participants in the inflation free from coercion. Participants are free to withdraw their participation at any time without negatively infecting on their employments in future service or the current program and relationship with any of the reasons or reason bodies influence. It can be challenging to encourage high-rise youth to become engaged in a program, and it is therefore difficult when participants choose not to continue in a program. Next, do no harms. Harm can both physical and or psychological, and can be in the form of stress, violence, anxiety, diminishing self-esteem, or an invasion of privacy. It is imperative that the inflation process does not in any way harm any attending or otherwise participant. The next, confidentiality means that any identifies information is not made available to or accessed by anyone but the program coordinator. Confidentiality also ensures such identifies information is excluded from any reports or public documents. Given that there are often small numbers in fear-based programs, it is very important to consider how reports are worded to ensure that there is no opportunity for people to be identified even though names are not used. Next, anonymity. Anonymity is stricter form of privacy that confidentiality, as the identity of the participants remains known to the research team. This is more difficult to achieve than confidentiality as participants in the contents of social reasons are usually known to the program coordinators. The next only assist relevant components. Only assist those components that are of relevance to the program. Initiative being conducted. High-risk population are sometimes being used as guinea pigs or a captive audience to ask all sorts of questions in information that are of interest to group conducting the programs. Initiative but not relevant to the program nor will be to the group who are influenced in the programs. It is important to keep information as simple as possible and to remain focused on the intention of the information and what the depth guidance will be used for. Okay, next slide. Be aware of consequences. Awareness of consequences is the tendency to be aware of the consequences or the effects of our behavior on others. Such words 1968. Social psychologists have long argued that how individuals tend to behave in certain situations can be predicted by looking at his awareness of consequences for that behavior. Awareness of consequences defines it as an awareness of consequences, negatives for others or other matters as individuals. No processual works. The Growth 2009. Joyreman, Lassani, Bennett, Richards, and Soleimani 2001 says that awareness of consequences can affect through environmental behavior. From the outcome research conducted by Mohana 2010, that the high awareness of consequences increases there is a high degree of warmth through environmental behavior. Okay, I think that's all. The next material will be presented by Alfionita Furba. For Alfionita Furba, thanks is yours.